I have to tell you, I'm really excited to be here tonight to interview David Schmidt. I look forward to it for I don't know how many weeks now, and we wanted to we Savvy and I wanted to get the questions from the standpoint of those of us who are out on the front lines talking to people. So we want to get, of course, we want to say the right thing. So we wanted to get it from the founder and the inventor of the patches. So David, thank you so much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. I want to give everybody just a little bit of background on this stem cell industry so that you can get the true grasp of what we have here with this X39 stem cell activation patch. There's this emerging industry worldwide going on with stem cell therapies. Doctors are injecting stem cells into joints. They're extracting them from umbilical cords of recent births. They're drilling into your bones and getting your bone marrow out and getting your stem cells. But they're very, very expensive. I had them done twice on both of my knees back in 2017, and my cost was $2,500 each. I think they are around 5,000 to 10,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, if you have an update on that. But they're very, very expensive. The most expensive ones I've heard of was 2 nights ago. We had Shelmady Martinez on. She was giving her testimonial, and she has had lupus for a long time. She went down to Mexico when the stem cell industry was first starting, and it was 50,000. Wasn't able to do it. That's the most expensive I've heard of. So we have this stem cell industry is projected to be in 2022. It's projected to be $18 billion. All over the world, stem cells, the buzzword. For those of you who don't know, stem cells are the fix-a-crew. They go around and regenerate things and fix things, and they can become other cells. And we make a lot of them when we're younger, but that starts to decline as we get older. So, David, I have a little bit of background in medicine and science myself, and over the last 8 months, I can't tell you how many times I've thought, how in the world does somebody even think about this mechanism of stimulating the body that way with a little patch on the body? And I'm thinking about you sitting around saying, hey, I think I'll combine some amino acids and some salts, and it'll form its own little crystal lattice structure so I can reflect back a specific photon to stimulate the body to make more stem cells. So David, tell us what happens when we put that patch on our skin, and what does it do, please?
Okay. Well, if we were to go back in time a little bit to when I was first developing the technology, it really started with the basic idea of, could we turn on beta oxidation? Is there a way that we could increase fat burning? And I want to throw that out there as a concept for you all to think about, because this was really the beginning, the genesis of the technology. At the time, I owned a company with a few other friends, and we were developing survival equipment for the U.S. Navy through government contractors. And I was invited to be part of a design team for a mini sub. And I was asked, well, what do you think you can contribute to this project? And the crew of the mini sub were Navy SEALs. They were going to be going on missions where they had to stay awake for 30 hours, 60 hours at a time. And they would be taking caffeine, amphetamines, any type of these pep pills to stay awake longer. And I thought, I've been interested in health my entire life, and I prefer natural medicine. I wonder if there's any way that we could improve the energy and stamina of the crew without having to resort to stimulants. So I began thinking about this idea of wireless communication. We have cell phones today, we have satellite communications. Is there any way we could wirelessly communicate with the human body to give it more energy? So basic mechanism that I thought about was, as we age, our mitochondria begin to decline in efficiency, and we switch from predominantly burning fat or a blend of burning fat and carbohydrates more over to carbohydrate metabolism. And this, of course, eventually leads to mitochondrial dysfunction by the time we're around age 50 or so. So if we could turn back on fat burning and turn on beta oxidation, we'd get a number of very significant benefits. First benefit is people would feel an immediate effect of having more energy without having that crash from stimulants. And then secondly, this turned out to be a very powerful anti-aging effect, which I won't get into right now because that's a little bit of a longer story. But the basic idea was, let's stimulate the skin with very low levels of light and see if we could induce a specific metabolic change within the cell. So obviously the first patch, the energy patches, are interfacing and stimulating the mitochondria as well as the electron transport chain to elevate beta oxidation. Now, later on, when I wanted to take the company in the direction of activating stem cells, I didn't start with phototherapy. I migrated to that later. I started with a device that I invented that produces this blend of electromagnetic and non-electromagnetic waves. And we found that with this technique that we could indeed activate stem cells, and that injections of stem cells were not necessarily needed. And we developed the technique over time. So to answer your question, that was a long way of going about it, but you take the patch, you put it on the skin, it's activated by your body heat, it will begin to reflect and stimulate the skin with very low levels of light. This in turn will stimulate the nerves and the acupuncture points on the surface of the skin, and this creates a phenomena called photobiomodulation. This is documented in over 5,000 clinical studies now. And as a result, we can activate specific receptors in the cells with light as opposed to drugs or herbs or vitamins. And in the case of X39, we're activating receptors that turn on the natural production of copper peptide, which is a master signaling molecule for stem cells.
Wow. Great. That I think Savvy has a question.
But I wanted to ask you, in compared to a stem cell shot, right? Does a stem cell shot elevate GHK copper peptides and also activate all those genes, over 4,100 genes?
No, it does not. So let's talk a little bit about this, because you're bringing up a very important point. If we were to look at what's it going to be like in the future, let's say 20 years down the road, when somebody goes to see their doctor, they go into a hospital, stem cell injections are going to be extremely common, and they're going to be hopefully much more affordable. And the science is going to be refined enough that someone who has diabetes, they'll be an outpatient. They'll be able to get an injection of stem cells, and they won't be a type 1 or type 2 diabetic anymore. And we're going to be treating heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all the same way with injections of stem cells. Now, for those that can afford it, stem cells will be a very powerful anti-aging technology and technique. And the reason for this is that if we can get young, healthy cells and inject them into the body, and they know how to differentiate, then we're replacing older cells with young, healthy cells. But we're not there today, not with stem cell injections. So to answer your question, using stem cell injections is fine, but it's certainly not the only answer, and it's not necessarily working the way the human body was designed. So the human body, if we want to break this down into very simplistic terms just for the moment, a human body depends on energy and communication. So every cell has to make or use energy, and it has to be able to communicate both inside of the cell and also with its outside environment. And there are signaling molecules, these are hormones and peptides that are